Welcome to Old Guy Talks to Me, a podcast dedicated to helping guys create kick-ass lives for themselves and those that they love. Ladies, if you want to know what your guy is thinking, this podcast is for women too. Each week, a special guest helps you create that life you've imagined. We talk anti-aging medicine, personal growth, relationships and hot sex. Yeah, you hear me, getting laid more frequently, other guy vices, and topics that many don't want to talk about but need to. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean you have to be old. Don't want to miss anything? Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review this podcast. And be sure to go to www.thestandard.academy/magazine and grab a free copy of our new digital magazine, The Standard Academy, where we talk about erogenous zones, growing hair back, and other things that will help you create that kick-ass life. Now get ready to listen up and share with friends.
I think the one of the critical things that one of the mistakes that a lot of people make is they ask themselves the wrong question. They go into, they'll say like, well, why am I always failing? Okay, your brain's going to give you an answer to that.
Versus, at the lowest level.
What do I need to do to make this a success is a very different question. It has nothing to do, it doesn't focus on the failures. And so I think a lot of people, and I used to do that quite a bit. A long time ago, I used to do that quite a bit. And that was kind of one of the things I learned from having gone to, I guess as long ago, my wife and I were talking about this like over 20 years ago, to several Tony Robbins events. And I mean, one of the things that he says is the quality of your life depends on the quality of the questions you ask yourself, which is absolutely true. And people make that mistake on a regular basis.
I completely agree that it is true, but unless you're elevating your energy, unless you're elevating your identity, then you're going to always ask the questions that you're in your comfort zone to ask, which means you're going to get the responses that are right there where you are right now. And that's why people can't get out of their own way. Why people get so, God, I feel like I'm spinning my wheels. Why people are like, God, I feel like I've been doing this daily thing for 25, 35, 40 years. It's because it's true. You have, because we have to elevate ourselves and get to that 3HQ of really accessing a higher level so that then when you answer the question, you actually are answering it from a different level than it was created.
Sure. Absolutely. I think you have to, one of the most good is the enemy of great. And when things are good, you're too complacent and you're too comfortable. And actually, you don't really realize that you actually, people don't even realize that they're deteriorating from good. They're going from good to fair to poor, but they don't know what's happening. So good is definitely the enemy of great. And when you settle for good, you're really going in the opposite direction, because there's no such thing as status quo. It just doesn't exist.
I agree. And I think that for so many of us, the people that are kind of screaming from the stages, love yourself, love your life, love your business, love, love, love. I got to tell you, I was not in a position to even like myself. I was feeling like I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing at work. I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing with my 3 kids. I was just, constantly feeling like I'm not enough. And so I had to work through let me first like myself so that I can then love myself. And it's, you got to, again, work. It takes work. You got to work through it.
Well, the most important relationship you have is with yourself. If that's screwed, then you're screwed everywhere else, because you can't pretend that. Some people unfortunately have decided to be unhappy, and that is a choice to a certain extent. That is a choice. People do tend to go into victim mode, and cry poor as me, and they get some satisfaction. There's actually a certain amount of celebrity to being a victim. there's plenty of enablers if you want to play the victim card.
Well, just think about conversations that you're either a
Yeah.
part of or you are listening to where people try to one up,
Oh, yeah.
gosh, that happened to you. Well, listen to what happened to me. And when you're doing that, what you're putting out there is, it ties into the law of attraction, but it's an even bigger law of resonance. What resonates within you is what you're going to be resonating with and pulling in. It's the magnetic factor. And really important that, as you said, you do the one real thing that we have control over are our thoughts. I mean, you do have control over our thoughts. And I love Jim Fortin is a gentleman that I follow, and he says, you are not your thoughts, you are the thinker of your thoughts. And one of the examples he often gives is when people say, I am mad, I am angry. No, you are not. You are aurist having mad thoughts. You are aurist having angry thoughts, but that is not who you are. There is a part where you have the ability, and it's part of, habit training, where you can start to train yourself. These people that are in victim mode, you can train yourself to get out of that with simple steps. Tuning in is probably the most simple one, right? Tune in.
No, I actually was when I was younger, was very negative and played the victim card, and that was kind of it did not serve me. It did not serve me well at all. And but that's a long time. Talking. I was going to change something. Talk about reinventing yourself and changing. Oh, that's something that you help a lot of women do, especially in terms of transforming. I think that the phrase is, how do you phrase it? Take a transition or to become a transformation. What does that mean?
Right. So when you look at anything that is a relaunch, if you look at anything in your life that is impactful in your mind, right? Because I mean, even as we discuss, trauma is in the eyes of the beholder. I mean, it could be very traumatic to you and it may not be traumatic to me, but whatever you believe and your transitions, the things that you've had to go through to get where you are right now. Well, you can have positive transformations like I discussed with the silver lined relaunch, or sometimes you don't have a real positive transformation initially, and it keeps coming up again, right? These people that are, dating out there, and God, I keep meeting the same type of person and it never works out. It goes back to a comment that you made, and, being that, what you put out there, you're going to get back. I remember I used to, when I would drive home from Oracle in the Silicon Valley, it would take me sometimes an hour and a half to 2 hours because of the commute. And I would call my mom when she was still healthy, and I'd open it up with, you're not going to believe this. And it was like I was trying to one up myself every day, like, wow, you can't believe what the kids did, or wow, you can't believe what was going on at the office today. And so what do you think I was manifesting? I was actually manifesting more of these juicy, bad things so that I could tell my mom about them. And so you really have cycles that you do. You have, and remember, a habit in your subconscious is neither good nor bad. Your subconscious just keeps doing what it feels to keep you safe and familiar. That's what its job is. So again, you have to self-assess and say, is this actually a good habit for me, or is this a bad habit? And that's your conscious thinking. And then you can start to retrain your brain with a process to relaunch to a transformation. And that process helps with limiting beliefs, because we all have them. I call them bugs, beliefs underground that surface. And that is all part of the head and the heart. We have emotional blocks that are part of the heart. People that have hurt us, people that, we're not where we thought, people that, we've been discouraged with, angry with, Those can be emotional blocks that hold us back. And then we've got the ones that are the blocks in the head, the subconscious, the limiting beliefs of I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not safe financially, I'm not going to, oh my gosh, if I don't get this client, what's going to happen? And we spin ourselves out of control. And in order to have a transformation, you have to be willing to accept where you are and look at where you're going. And again, what is that one thing right now you can do to create momentum? Because as Tony Robbins, you mentioned Tony earlier, Tony Robbins said, as long as you are walking an inch forward, you're no longer stuck by definition. So it doesn't take much to move you out of that feeling of I'm stuck. It's allowing yourself to realize that you're no longer a victim, but you can be the victor by establishing that you're in control. And that's a powerful place, just by starting with I'm in control. I'm actually in control, because you are. You make decisions every single day.
Yeah. I think that sometimes people get into transitions and they don't take an active part in them. You see this, I think you mentioned it. You see this with people maybe that have sold a business or left a career, and they're, the statistic on men dying after they stop being productive is within 10 years is huge. It's huge. So people need to have a purpose in the morning, and they need to plan their transformations. They need to really plan them. I think a lot of divorces happen when couples become empty nesters, and that's because they didn't plan for it. And they did not plan for it. All of a sudden, it's upon them, and it's kind of like it's a big shock. Like, who the hell are you? I don't like you.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife and I, we had a kind of a 2-year run at being empty nesters. We kind of knew that it was coming and this and that. And fortunately, we had some other significant transitions that really worked out well for us. But most of them were planned. The actual the transitions were planned out, but not actually all the steps were planned out, because sometimes you can't accommodate that. But I in a previous life, I had been a periodontal regenerative surgeon for 33 years. And and so I knew it was time for me to leave. Part of the reason I knew it was time for me to leave was I actually had lost interest in being the best version of myself in that career I could. I just was not interested. I couldn't care less. It was just, so it was time for me to go. But I knew I had to have something to do. For me to go and hit a golf ball every day of the week was not going to be a satisfactory life. Because that would just, I've seen people that do that have been very successful and then did that and they were miserable. It was kind of interesting. I think of one person in particular, and he's miserable. I mean, miserable. And he was a very, very successful businessman. So yeah, but you got to plan that transition.
And when you are planning it, it's like we talked about with the book, Relaunch, spark your heart. What lights you up? What fires you up? And I often get, you know what, Hilary, I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't seem like anything. That's when you got to, I have to say, I haven't met a person that I haven't been able to get a song that sparks them up. And once you get that, I'm like, listen to that song 100 times today, because you will change the way you're thinking and do that one thing and start. Music is, it's been around since the early days of life. Music, pounding on something. It doesn't have to be, it's just moving it because it vibrates in your body. You look at a tuning fork. And when one tuning fork starts to vibrate at the same level, it's a great example of what you're doing as you're elevating yourself with your song that lights you up. It's that tuning fork. You're bringing in the ability to vibrate at whatever you are trying to attract. And
Mhm.
I know you haven't attracted it yet, or you would be happy with where you are. Too many of us are like, I don't even know. Here is how you do it. Elevate yourself. Realize, what are you trying to attract into your life? And then know that if you don't have it, it's because you're at a lower vibrational level. Everything is energy. Your thoughts have energy, your emotions have energy. So when you start to realize that you're operating, and I often am asked, people will come in and they'll say, well, my favorite song, and it's some song that if you listen to the words, it's like, I don't know if I can go on tomorrow. I mean, you're like, oh, come on. That song is only going to bring you down. And it doesn't have to have words. It can be, I've gotten into African dance that just has the great beat. What do you resonate with? Because that's
Sure.
when you can start to ask yourself, what are you really going for?
Yeah, I think sometimes people do themselves a disservice by what they put into their brain. Just
Completely.
as you mentioned, and I think the other thing I'm incredibly careful about is the people that I allow into my life, as far as friends. And so I have on Friday afternoons from 3 to 5, I have a cigar group, bunch of guys that we get together on a regular basis. And it was kind of interesting because I was we have old former CEOs, people been successful in their careers, whatever. And so I was talking to one man, not in the group, and this is going to sound horrible, but it's not. No, it is horrible. No, it's not horrible. So I was talking to him, and about 10 minutes into the conversation, it was like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't know why, but it was just like, I have no interest in talking to you. You're a nice person and all that, but I have no interest in talking to you. And he asked about joining our cigar group. And I said, no.
And here's the thing. It's because you're elevating yourself that you're
Yeah.
realizing that certain people are truly toxic for you.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
good
And
for you. Hey, no,
yeah.
the group is tapped out right now.
Yeah. Well, the group, had I brought him, my friends would have looked at me like, why the hell did you bring this guy into the group? But, and you do that. And most people are very reticent about doing this with family.
Yeah.
And we've basically exercised certain family members out of our lives, because after dealing with them for an hour on the phone, all I wanted to do was go in a closet and drink vodka until I passed out. Yeah,
So it's the boundaries that
yeah,
when you realize that you have toxicity in your life, you have to set parameters. And this is what so many clients come in and say, I'm elevating myself. I'm realizing that I'm at a different level and these people aren't serving me. It's much easier to say with friends, I'm not really interested in like hanging out. You just avoid them. But family members, sometimes that's a tough thing, especially over holidays. And what I always try to do is, again, what do you think I'm going to say? Tune in, because as you elevate, you actually they are repelled to you because they're not at that level. So you then think about the people that you really want to spend time with during that family event and naturally go towards them. And if you're
sure.
unfortunately it's a 2-person and it's only you and that person, then maybe you take the vodka out.
Absolutely. So, Hilary, we mentioned your coaching program, and there'll be in the show notes how to get a hold of you and your coaching program. Can you tell us a little bit about how your coaching program works? And you mentioned more one-on-one coaching that you like to do.
Yeah, so I what I've found is that women really thrive in group settings, and men really thrive in one-on-one. Um, And I believe that this will change in the future as more and more people start to really embrace 3HQ, because the more you can understand that it's not like-minded people that will help you excel, it's like energy people. That is, if that's the only takeaway today. So what I really try to help people do is think about you being your own personal power source, and 3HQ is your power source, the head, the heart, the higher self, and being able to self-govern that, be able to self-generate the power that you need. And so my programs are really designed to elevate and allow people to go through that, getting out of your own way, allowing you to understand that you can find your purpose and your passion, and that there are ways to get there that aren't going to take years and years. Because I'm all about the faster I can help you. And it was interesting, the example I gave you with the gentleman who sold his business for 250 million. He was originally in a long-term coaching program with me. And within 9 weeks, we had gotten him to completely do a reversal. And I literally said, you're done. You're done with the coaching program. Go off, go to that next level. When you hit your next gate, as I call it, whether it's a revenue gate or a personal, like, I want to go to the next level, come back to me. But right now you're ready. It doesn't have to take, this business of like years and years. It can be something as simple as that message of 3HQ resonating with you, saying, you know what, I have been stuck in my head. If you go to our website, therelaunch.com, you can actually take a quiz that will help you understand, are you primarily in your head, your heart, or your higher self? And that's the first place to start, right? Just being aware of where you are. Clarity, as you said at the very beginning of our conversation. Get clear. Once you start to do that, you're taking your life in your hands and not allowing circumstances, being the victim, to rule your destiny.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Hilary, I want to thank you for coming on the program. And as I mentioned, how to get a hold of Hilary will be in the show notes. And, go ahead and try that assessment. And I think that should be an interesting thing to try. And so, Hilary, it's a very insightful, interesting conversation that we had today.
Oris, thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
All right. This is Oris, the official old guy from oldguytalkstome.com. If you have not already gotten my free digital magazine with basically stuff to help you create that life that you want, and one of them is One Secret Place to Touch a Woman, and it's not her clitoris, because that's not a secret place. It's somewhere else. And so be sure to get that and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Until next time, remember, it's all about creating a kick-ass life for yourself and those that you love.
Thank you for joining Dr. Orist and his incredible guest. Like what you heard and learned? Then be sure to do 3 things. 1, subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. 2, share this with someone who may need to hear it. 3, leave a review and rate this podcast. Opt in at www.thestandard.academy/magazine and get our free digital magazine with savings, articles, and deeper dives into cool controversy. Be the guy who takes action. Without action, you're not going to get the results you want. Thank you again, and make it a great day.